Revealed, how a poor girl's incredible promise to a billionaire CEO changed his life forever. Ella Johnson stood at the crowded intersection, her heart racing as she balanced 3 grocery bags in one hand and her younger brother, Leo, on her hip with the other. The vibrant sounds of her inner-city neighborhood buzzed around her: laughter, music, and the distant honk of traffic. Here, in this chaotic rhythm, Ella didn't just survive, she thrived. But beneath her radiant smile lay the weight of caring for her single mother, who struggled with her own personal demons. Each day was a blend of grit and hope, and Ella embodied both. On that fateful afternoon, she was delivering groceries for the local charity event. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind of energy that grabbed hold of her heart. It was here she stumbled upon Marcus Steele. The brooding billionaire was a striking figure amidst the jovial crowd, but his eyes betrayed a depth of sorrow. Just recently, he lost his father, and with that loss, an emptiness enveloped him. As he wandered through the event, Ella's warmth caught his gaze, her genuine laugh pierced through his fog. "Ella!" Leo chirped, nearly dropping his sticky treat as he spotted her. The way she knelt beside him, beaming with pride, made Marcus's heart tighten. Here was a girl who wielded hope like a sword, battling the hardships around her without losing her spirit. Ella noticed Marcus watching, and her reassuring smile nudged him closer. "I'm delivering groceries for the families in the neighborhood," she said, sincerity dripping from her words. Marcus felt a spark. Could working with her help him find himself again? "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." And so began their unlikely friendship. Ella welcomed Marcus into her world, urging him to volunteer in her community. Each hour spent side by side, they revisited the values often clouded by wealth, hard work, empathy, and connection. Marcus's eyes opened wider with every shared story, every laugh, feeling the pulse of her neighborhood. The stark disparities struck him hard. Wealth had shielded him from such raw realities. Yet with every act of service, Ella navigated his heart toward a better understanding of true success. But as their bond deepened, troubles brewed. Marcus's elite friends whispered, their jealous murmurs tainted with privilege. They viewed him spending time with Ella as a betrayal of his status. With accolades tempting, Marcus wavered between staying true to Ella and embracing the life laid before him. Hurt deepened when Ella overheard Marcus discussing a lavish career move with those friends. Had he forgotten all they shared? The betrayal felt like a knife twisting in her heart, leaving her to question everything. In the heat of a confrontation, emotions bubbled over. Would Marcus choose riches over loyalty, leaving Ella clinging to hope alone? Just as a heartbreaking incident threatened to tear them apart, the undeniable truth remained: could their worlds collide in harmony, or were they destined to drift endlessly apart? The stakes were rising, and the crowd held its breath, waiting. Ella stood at her doorstep, heart pounding, feeling as though the world was crashing in around her. Leo tugged at her shirt, clinging to the last bits of his sugary treat, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in his sister's heart. All she could think about was Marcus and the conversation that had shattered the delicate ties they'd woven together. Her mind replayed the hurtful words, each one sharper than the last. "You're wasting your potential, Marcus," they had said, eyes glinting with scorn as he laughed. "What's a billionaire like you doing, slumming it with a girl from the projects?" She imagined Marcus's face, the brief hesitation before he laughed along with them. It felt like betrayal, a heavy weight on her chest that left no room for air. "Ellie." Leo's cheerful voice broke her spiraling thoughts. He pulled on her hand, pointing excitedly to the playground across the street. She forced a smile, wrapping her arm around him, but it felt heavy. They stumbled over to the swings, the sound of laughter and joy swirling around her. Children dashed about, while parents chatted, stealing glances of carefree delight. Ella wished she could dive into that envious warmth, but the ache in her heart lingered, pulling her under like a riptide. "Do you think Marcus will come back?" Leo asked, swinging back and forth, his innocent question sinking straight into Ella's chest. "Of course, buddy. He's just busy," Ella replied, but the words felt hollow. She couldn't shake the feeling that the distance between them was growing. With every laugh shared at the community center, they had built something beautiful, only for it to be overshadowed by whispers and doubt. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden hue on the playground, Ella felt a flicker of determination rising within her. She had always been resilient. If Marcus wouldn't step up, then maybe she would have to take the first leap. Later that evening, Ella resolved to confront him. She found his sleek black car parked awkwardly along the curb, contrasting starkly with the dilapidated buildings surrounding their neighborhood. She took a deep breath, letting the sweet scent of fresh grass fill her lungs. It was time. But before she could reach the car, Marcus stepped out, hesitant. The moment their eyes locked, a jolt of energy passed between them, a strange mix of love and pain. Ella opened her mouth to speak, but he beat her to it. "I can explain, Ella," he began, his voice low. "Explain what?" "That you're just like them." She shot back, bitterness creeping into her tone. She could see the hurt flicker in his brown eyes, but she couldn't help it. The truth lingered too painfully close. "Let me show you," he whispered, stepping closer. His face was serious now, earnest. "Can we at least talk?" Ella hesitated, her heart fighting against the walls she had built. A part of her wanted to break free, to forgive. But the shadows of doubt lingered, whispering warnings. Could she trust him after this? "What do you want to show me?" she asked, her voice trembling as she fought to keep her walls intact. Realizing just how much lay ahead of them, Marcus held out his hand toward her, eyes pleading for a chance to make things right. "What if this works, Ella? What if we don't have to choose between our worlds?" Ella felt a flutter of hope and fear. Was she ready to take a leap of faith? Could they forge a path together, or was she doomed to lose everything? With her heart racing, she took a step forward, the air thick with unspoken promises and daunting choices. As she reached for him, she knew the moment of truth was rising fast. What would it mean for them both? In that fragile moment of connection, everything hung in the balance. Ella's fingers brushed against Marcus's, and a rush of warmth flooded her heart. The hesitation that had once held her captive began to melt away. But as quickly as that flicker of hope sparked, the shadows crept back in, taunting her. "Ella, please," Marcus said, voice breaking the silence that felt heavier than ever between them. "Just give me a chance to explain." She studied his face, looking for any signs of insincerity. Instead, all she found was a deep well of emotion, swirling beneath his usual calm exterior. Her defenses faltered as she realized Marcus wasn't the one she was truly fighting. It was the fear inside her, the fear of being hurt again, of allowing someone to manipulate her heart. As if sensing her turmoil, Marcus shifted on his feet. "Look, I know how it sounded. How it looked," he said, taking a steadying breath. "But those people, they don't know me. They don't know us. They don't see what I see when I look at you." His words tangled in her mind, forcing her to confront the image of him laughing at their harsh jokes. That sting had cut deep. But could she forgive him? Was it fair to hold his past mistakes against him when he was here now, eager to make things right? Leo, still swinging happily behind them, brought Ella back to what truly mattered. "What if we don't have to choose between our worlds?" Marcus's earlier words echoed in her mind, now laced with possibility. "Okay," Ella exhaled, then added, "but you need to show me. Show me why I shouldn't be afraid." Marcus nodded, relief pouring over his features. "Get in. I want to show you something." A flicker of uncertainty sparked again. What did that even mean? But curiosity overpowered her concerns. They climbed into his car, the plush interior a stark contrast to the chipped paint and faded murals of their neighborhood. As he drove, the hum of the engine filled the silence. Ella found herself glancing sideways, studying him as he focused on the road, earnest determination set in his jaw. "Where are we going?" she finally asked, prompting a sideways glance from him. "You'll see." Minutes passed, and the landscape transformed. The busy streets of their neighborhood faded behind them, replaced by grand buildings and glistening storefronts. Ella's heart raced with each passing block. What did this world have to offer? Was it truly waiting for her, or was it just a mirage, a dream she had no right to chase? When they finally stopped in front of a large community center, its vibrant banner waved invitingly in the wind. "It's a place I've been working on. I want you to see what I'm trying to do," Marcus said, a hint of pride coloring his voice. Ella stepped out, her heart pounding. This wasn't just a structure, it was a promise. A promise that maybe they could find common ground, a bridge between two worlds. And yet, doubt wove like a thread through her thoughts. "Why?" she finally asked, turning to face him. "Why invest here?" "Because," he paused, looking deep into her eyes. "Because what matters to you matters to me. And I want to help." The sincerity of his words pierced through her fear. Could it be true? Could he really want a future where they stood side by side, breaking the barriers society had thrown between them? Just as hope bubbled in her chest, her phone buzzed in her pocket, pulling her from the moment. The anxiety she thought she had tucked away swelled again. What if this was all just a distraction? As she pulled it out, her breath caught in her throat. The screen lit up with a message from someone she hadn't heard from in years, a name that shook her to the core. "What's wrong?" Marcus asked, noticing her sudden change in demeanor. I don't know," she whispered, feeling a gaping chasm of uncertainty open up beneath her. With a heart full of questions and the force of the past looming closer, she turned back to him, searching his eyes for reassurance. They stood on the edge of change, but what would this revelation mean for them? As the sun dipped behind the communities they loved and fought for, the future felt impossibly tangled. And just like that, she was faced with an impossible choice. Ella's heart thundered against her ribs as she stared at her phone. The name on the screen was like a jolt of electricity. It was Eliana, the sister she had lost touch with after everything had fallen apart. After the accident. After the dark clouds had settled over their family. What if it's bad news? Marcus's voice was steady, cutting through the noise in her mind. She could see he was trying to stay calm, to pull her back from the edge of her own spiraling thoughts. I don't know," she finally admitted, her fingers trembling slightly as she stared at the message. What could Eliana possibly want after all this time? "Hey, we can handle it. Whatever it is." Marcus took a step closer, his hand reaching out as if to bridge the gap of uncertainty. There was something both grounding and unsettling about his presence. Just then, her phone vibrated again, a new message lighting up the screen. It read, "Ella, please call me. I really need to talk." The words hit her like a punch. Anxiety wove through her like a vine, tightening around her chest. Memories rushed back, arguments that had escalated, a family fractured, a bond broken. Despite everything she had built up to this point, those echoes of a painful past resurfaced with a vengeance. "Are you going to reply?" Marcus asked, his voice gentle. Ella took a deep breath and glanced back at him, searching for clarity in his eyes. "I don't know. I don't know if I want to. This is your sister, right?" "Maybe she's changed," he suggested softly. "You can't keep running from the people who matter." His words flicked another switch inside her, igniting a mix of frustration and longing. Was he right? Could she confront the past and still build a future? "I don't want to hurt anymore," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What if I'm here?" He replied, his gaze unwavering. You don't have to face it alone. Struggling with her emotions, she acknowledged the warmth that spread within her, a quiet comfort that grew with his support. In that moment, the idea of sharing her fears with Marcus felt both terrifying and strangely freeing. What if she wants to come back? She asked, her heart sinking at the thought. Then you decide what that looks like, he said, tilting his head slightly as if to get a better glimpse into her soul. You have the power to choose how you handle it. The comforting tone in his voice wrapped around her like a safety net. Maybe sharing this part of her life wouldn't be so bad. Did it mean facing the darkness she had been avoiding, or could it lead to the light she so desperately craved? Ella took a step back, weighing her options. The idea of opening her heart to Eliana felt as daunting as it had always been. But what if I can't forgive? She murmured, more to herself than to Marcus. Maybe forgiveness leads to freedom. Freedom to build your own life, Marcus replied, his words laden with conviction. His resolve sparked something deep within Ella. She thought of the community center. They were both builders of spaces, of futures. It was a fragile hope, one that reminded her that there was light beyond the shadows. Finally, she made a decision. She would face Eliana, and whatever it brought, Marcus would be by her side. As her heart swelled with newfound courage, she leaned into his warmth, feeling a connection she didn't want to let go of. As she opened her messaging app to type her reply, her pulse raced with anticipation. Would this lead to healing or more heartache? The horizon of change stretched before her like a canvas waiting to be painted, filled with uncertainty but also possibilities. What awaited her on the other side of that message? Just then, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was Marcus. I'll be right here with you, no matter what comes next. As he spoke those words, her heart danced with a mix of hope and dread. In this delicate moment, she sensed that the greatest journey was about to unfold, and Ella wasn't sure if she was ready for everything it could mean. Ella's fingers hovered over the screen as she took a deep breath, her heart racing. She had been ready to type a reply, to initiate a bridge back to a sister she hadn't spoken to in years, but uncertainty gripped her. Would Eliana's call bring closure or open old wounds? Ella? Marcus's voice was soft, but threaded with a sense of urgency that pulled her attention. When she glanced up, he was watching her intently, concern etched on his face. You okay? Yeah, just trying to. She paused, struggling to articulate the storm of emotions swirling inside her. What do you think she wants? He thought for a moment before answering. Honestly? It could be anything. But you deserve to know. His hand reached out, brushing against hers. It was warm and grounding, offering comfort against the rising tide of dread. What if she just wants to apologize? The thought hung in the air, heavy with possibility and fear. And what if it's something else? Marcus countered gently. Something that could help you both heal. You'll never know until you reach out. Ella felt a flicker of determination rise inside her. Maybe this was her chance to confront the past and reclaim a part of her that felt lost for too long. Still, the weight of fear pressed heavily on her chest. But what if she hurt me again? Then you get the chance to say no. You get to protect yourself, no matter what. He smiled softly, lifting the corner of her mouth with his own, making the prospect feel a little less daunting. Marcus's unwavering encouragement ignited the spark of hope that had been struggling to catch fire within her. She realized she didn't have to face this alone. The idea of Marcus with her steadied her resolve. Okay, Ella finally said, a sense of resolution coloring her voice. I'll do it. With shaking hands, she opened the message thread. The blinking cursor seemed to taunt her, and for a moment, words failed her. But then she remembered the laughter they shared as children, the secrets whispered in the dark, before everything had shattered. Okay, here goes, she murmured to herself, and she began typing. Hey Eliana, I received your message. Can we talk? As soon as she pressed send, a wave of relief washed over her. But it was quickly accompanied by a rush of anxiety. Did she really just open that door? Look, there's no going back now, Marcus said, reading the change in her expression. You did something brave. I guess. Ella shifted her weight nervously, glancing at the clock on the wall. Now we just wait. But you're not waiting alone, Marcus reminded her. I'm here. The warmth of his words wrapped around her, spreading through her like a balm. They settled into a comfortable silence, finding solace in each other's presence. But as the minutes ticked by, the anticipation cast a shadow over their quiet sanctuary. Ella felt a sudden surge of adrenaline. What if she doesn't reply? What if this was a mistake? She will, Marcus encouraged, his voice calm but firm. And even if she doesn't, you showed her you were willing to take a step. That's incredibly important. For you. Just as she was about to respond, her phone buzzed again, causing her heart to skip a beat. Her breath caught in her throat as she looked at the screen. It was a message from Eliana. Thank you for replying. I really need to talk. Can we meet? A million questions raced through her mind. Would she recognize her sister? Could they ever rebuild what was lost? She looked up, her eyes wide with uncertainty, meeting Marcus's gaze. What do I do now? This is it, Ella, he responded, his voice thick with conviction. You take the next step forward. You don't have to decide everything today. With her heart pounding, Ella realized this was her chance, perhaps the only one she would get. They might find understanding or not. But the moment to reclaim her sister, her past, and her own courage was now. Filled with fear and hope, she scrolled down to an empty text box, feeling every word swirl inside her. How to respond to a question that could change everything. As she took a deep breath, poised to type, she didn't know if she was ready for what was about to unfold. What lay ahead, confrontation or connection? With her heart in her throat, she typed, yes, I'd like that. When and where? And with that, the journey to healing and perhaps reconciliation began, each step deeper into a future she wasn't entirely sure she wanted or could handle. Ella stared at her phone, still digesting the weight of her last message. Time seemed to stretch, as if the universe were holding its breath along with her. She felt both exhilarated and terrified, like standing at the edge of a diving board, peering down at a pool that felt far too deep. Are you okay? Marcus's voice pulled her back to the present. She nodded, though the uncertainty still swirled like a storm inside her. Just, trying to wrap my head around this, she admitted, her fingers tapping an anxious rhythm against the table. Their small living room felt suddenly stifling, the walls closing in with the gravity of the situation. It was just a message, a simple digital interaction, but it carried the weight of years apart, of all the unspoken words, the missed opportunities, and the heartache. Minutes passed, and while Marcus's warm presence was a comfort, Ella felt a growing sense of urgency. The silence pressed in, heavier than she expected. What if she doesn't respond? She will, Marcus insisted. Give it time. But every passing second magnified her doubt. The worry twisted like a knife in her gut. She fought the impulse to unconsciously reach for her phone again, to check if there truly was no response. Instead, she took a deep breath, aiming to ground herself in the reality of Marcus's support. Then, just as she was about to voice her fear, her phone lit up again. A new message. Ella's heart raced as she grabbed her phone. Can we meet at Lombardi's cafe? It's been a long time. Ella read and reread the words, the significance crashing over her in waves. The cafe was their old haunt, the place where they had shared laughs over milkshakes and debated everything from school to life's biggest choices. It felt like a portal to their past, a place of both comfort and conflict. She shot a glance at Marcus, who was watching her with perceptive eyes. I can't believe she wants to meet. A soft smile graced Marcus's lips, but it was laced with concern. That's a good sign. She wants to reconnect. But you have to think about what you want too. Ella's mind raced. Did she want to face the sister who had caused her so much pain? Or perhaps the sister who had once been her best friend? I don't know what I want, Marcus. Then maybe you go and find out. His words settled like a stone in her chest, both grounding her and expanding the worry that painted her insides. There was no perfect answer, and she realized that simply showing up would require a bravery she wasn't entirely sure she possessed yet. I think I need a minute, she finally admitted, her voice a whisper. Take all the time you need. Marcus reached for her hand, squeezing it softly, his warmth providing a sliver of comfort amidst the chaos of her thoughts. After a moment of silence, Ella stood up. I think I'll go. I have to see her face to face. No matter how scared I am. Do you want me to come with you? The suggestion floated between them, rich with possibilities. Her mind drifted to the image of walking into the cafe with Marcus by her side, ready to face whatever awaited her. But on the other hand, this had to be her journey, her confrontation. As much as she wanted support, she had to navigate this path alone. I think I need to do it myself. Marcus nodded, the understanding evident in his eyes. I'm right here when you get back. Ella took a deep breath, steeling herself, trying to drown out the drumbeat of her anxiety. Okay. I'm going now. As she stepped out into the cool evening air, Ella felt a mix of fear and anticipation swirl within her. She moved with purpose, every step feeling both decisive and shaky at the same time. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was on the brink of something monumental, a moment that could reshape everything. What would she say? Would the warmth of their shared memories envelop them, or would the pain that lingered between them rise to blind them both? The path ahead shimmered with uncertainty. But as she neared the cafe, breathless with the weight of what was to come, she knew one thing for certain, she couldn't turn back now. With her heart pounding and her eyes set on the cafe's welcoming lights, she whispered to herself, here goes nothing. And as she pushed through the door, the bell chiming softly, Ella stepped into a moment that could change everything. Would it be a reunion of hearts, or would she find the pieces of her past too broken to mend? Ella paused just inside the cafe, the familiar scent of coffee mingling with hints of baked goods wrapping around her like a soft blanket. The low hum of conversation created a comforting background noise, but to Ella, it felt like drowning in a sea of uncertainty. She scanned the room, heart racing. Would her sister already be there? Would she recognize her? Her gaze settled on a table nestled in the corner. There sat a woman, her back turned, sipping from a steaming cup. It felt like a scene frozen in time. There was something divine in the way the fidgeting Ella yearned for that moment to last just a little longer, as if she could rewind, retreat into the safety of her mind, where nothing could hurt her. Gingerly, Ella made her way closer, her pulse quickening with every step. As she approached, doubt gnawed at her insides. What if she wasn't ready for this? Memories flooded back, sibling squabbles, shared secrets, laughter that felt miles away now. But they were all wrapped up with the ugly betrayal, accusations, a rift so deep it felt impossible to bridge. Finally, she reached the edge of the table and cleared her throat. Samantha. The woman turned slowly, and Ella felt the air rush from her lungs. Samantha looked different, but somehow the same, her face a mirror of the child Ella once knew, framed by curls that fell softly around her shoulders. A tentative smile slowly filled Samantha's face, blending surprise with something that felt dangerously close to hope. Ella. They stood there, locked in time, absorbing each other's presence. Ella couldn't help but notice the lines of worry etched into Samantha's forehead, the dullness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. The warmth of their childhood bond flickered like a candle, trying to push through the shadows of their past. Hi, Ella managed to say, her voice trembling slightly. Samantha blinked, shaking her head as if to dispel the moment's weight. I can't believe you came. I had to, Ella replied, her heart pounding louder now than it had in the hallway at home. We need to talk. The silence stretched, thick and taut between them, as both sisters silently evaluated the chasm that had grown between them over the years. "Yeah, we do," Samantha finally said, her voice steadying. "I've wanted to talk for a long time." The honesty in her tone tugged at Ella's heartstrings, sparking a cautious glimmer of hope. As they settled into their seats, tension seeped away slowly, as if acknowledging that this moment could be the first step toward a new beginning. Ella wanted to ask about the years lost, the silence that had stretched between them, but she hesitated. How could she articulate the fear that had kept her away for so long? And why was it now that she felt drawn to be here, in front of the sister who had once been an integral part of her life? "Ella, I know we have so much to unravel," Samantha began, her voice edged with urgency. "But first, I think you should know." Just then, a loud voice interrupted them, causing both sisters to turn in surprise. A man at a nearby table laughed heartily, his animated gestures attracting attention as he boasted to friends about his recent successes. Ella felt momentarily disoriented, the laughter contrasting sharply with the delicacy of their conversation. Samantha's brows knitted together. "I can't believe this is happening here, now, of all places." Ella nodded, catching the underlying frustration, which mirrored her own. "Maybe it's a sign," she joked, her nervousness surging back. Samantha smiled, a flicker of warmth igniting in her eyes. "A sign that we need to make this happen. No distractions." The air around them shifted, charged with possibility, and Ella felt the weight of years begin to lessen. They were together now, both willing to speak their truths, and perhaps, just perhaps, they could begin to heal. But before Ella could voice the million questions swirling in her mind, Samantha leaned closer, her expression serious. "There's something important you need to know about why I reached out." Ella's heart raced. What could Samantha possibly say that would add to the tangled web of their shared history? As she settled into this moment, a cascade of anticipation rushed through her. Little did she know, the truth was about to challenge everything she thought she knew. Would she be able to handle what came next? There was no turning back now. Samantha hesitated for just a moment, her eyes darting away from Ella, as if searching for the right words. The cafe buzzed around them, but in that tiny corner, the world faded into a quiet hush, leaving only the two sisters wrapped in an emotional storm. "I reached out because something important happened," Samantha said, her voice trembling. "Mom has been sick. Really sick." Ella's breath caught in her throat, the reality of their fractured family crashing over her like a wave. "What do you mean, sick? How bad?" Samantha took a deep breath, her hands gripping the table as if anchoring herself against the sea of uncertainty. "She's been diagnosed with cancer. It's aggressive. She doesn't have much time left." The words felt like ice racing through Ella's veins, leaving her momentarily stunned. Memories of family dinners, laughter, and even the bitterness that had erupted between them felt so distant. "Why didn't anyone tell me? Why now?" Samantha's expression shifted, an urgency sweeping over her. "Because I needed to tell you in person, to bring you back to the fold. We can't let the past dictate our present." Ella's heart thundered as she processed Samantha's words. She longed to scream for the pain this revelation carried, but instead, she felt a swell of something different: responsibility, guilt, a deep-rooted love. "What does Mom say about this?" Tears shimmered in Samantha's eyes, and Ella instantly regretted the sharpness in her tone. "She's scared, Ella. But she wants to see us together again. She believes if we can forgive each other, it could help her fight." The weight of Samantha's plea anchored deeper into Ella's heart. It was like a call to arms, an invitation to put aside their differences for something greater than either of them. "I can't just pretend the past didn't happen," she whispered. "I'm not asking you to," Samantha insisted, her voice steady. "But if we don't start working on this, we might lose our chance. Mom needs us to be a family again. We need this, for her." Ella leaned back in her chair, overwhelmed by swirling emotions. In that moment, the cafe was a blur, the laughter now felt hollow, and all she could hear was the sharp truth of Samantha's words. It was the grip of the past that had held her captive, and now the future was pressing with a new urgency she couldn't ignore. As silence enveloped them, Ella felt as if the minutes stretched into eternity. She knew they were teetering on the edge of something profound, an opportunity for healing, forgiveness, perhaps even a rebirth of their sisterhood. What if I can't do this? Ella finally admitted, the vulnerability spilling from her like a pressed flower. Samantha reached across the table, covering Ella's trembling hand with her own. You're stronger than you think. We can face this together. Just, please try to remember the good times first. The love. You loved her, and she loved you. It's time to find that again. Ella's pulse quickened at the thought. Could she really unpack the years of hurt? Could she see her mother before it was too late? It was terrifying, yet a fleeting ember of hope began to glow deep within her. Okay, Ella said, a shaky breath escaping her lips. I'll try. For Mom. Samantha's smile was an exquisite breath of fresh air, a bond rekindled amidst the ashes. For Mom, she echoed, echoing Ella's resolution. But just as they began to feel the warmth returning, a familiar voice sliced through the moment. Samantha. There you are. I've been looking everywhere for you. Both sisters turned to see a man standing tall at the entrance. His eyes were darting between Samantha and Ella, confusion etched across his face. Ella's stomach knotted. Why did he look so familiar? Samantha's expression shifted as she glanced back at Ella, her vulnerability momentarily masked. But Ella could see the worry creeping back into Samantha's eyes, the unease curling tightly between them. Who is he? Ella asked, feeling a chill ripple down her spine. Samantha hesitated, and as if sensing the tension, the man took a step closer. I need to talk to you this. Can't wait. Ella's heart sank. Was this another disruption to their fragile moment? Or a twist that would send their plans spiraling again? Tension thickened in the air, no one knew what would come next. Samantha stood, still holding on to Ella's hand as the man stepped closer, tension radiating from him like heat off pavement. He was tall, with striking features, but it was the familiarity in his eyes that struck Ella hardest. It felt as if they were standing on the precipice of something unexpectedly monumental. Who are you? Ella repeated, her voice firmer this time. She was done being a passive bystander in her own life. The fear gnawing at her was overshadowed by a fierce determination to protect the fragile moment she had just begun to reclaim with her sister. The man seemed to sense the change in atmosphere. He took a breath, steadied himself, and finally spoke. I'm Ryan. I've been working with your mother's team, he said, looking directly at Samantha. Your mom asked me to find you. It's urgent. Urgent? What do you mean? Samantha's voice was sharper, her concern overriding her earlier vulnerability. Ryan's expression turned serious. She has taken a turn for the worse. The doctors want to discuss her treatment plan, but she insists she won't proceed until you both are there with her. A chill enveloped Ella as she absorbed his words. When? How bad is it? Her eyes bore into Ryan's, seeking an answer. Right now. She's in the hospital. They're running tests, and she needs you both there to talk with the oncologists. Please, time is of the essence, he urged, his concern evident. Samantha released Ella's hand and stood. We need to go. No, wait. Ella felt panic surging. This was all happening too fast. She hadn't even had a chance to process everything, to work through the tide of emotions threatening to drown her. I can't just drop everything. I need time to think. You can't think about this. Samantha's voice softened but held an edge. You might not get another chance. We're running out of time. A sliver of guilt twisted in Ella's gut. She wanted to scream, to resist, to dwell on old wounds, but behind it all, the thought of their mother, the woman who had once filled their lives with warmth, was the undeniable weight in her heart. What if I say no? Ella challenged, her voice wavering, fear lacing her every word. Samantha stepped closer, urgency settling into her features. Then you stand to lose her another day, another hour, while we argue about the past. Remember why you're doing this. You can't put off seeing her one more time. Ryan watched silently, his presence a reminder of the stakes at play. It wasn't just about Ella and Samantha anymore, it was about their mother's fight, her courageous battle against an illness that had swept in uninvited. A moment of silence fell between the sisters, thick with unspoken words and unresolved tension. The years of distance crackled in the air, but within it, there was the flicker of possibility, a chance to weave their broken threads back into something beautiful. What do you say, Ella? Samantha whispered, resolutely but tenderly. Do you want to come with me? For Mom. Ella's heart was a drum in her chest, fear battling a rising sense of clarity. She could say no and remain frozen in her grief, or she could take a step forward into uncertainty. I'll go. For Mom, Ella said finally, steeling herself against the deluge of emotions. Samantha's eyes filled with tears of relief, and in a heartbeat, they were slung into action. As they hastily stepped out of the cafe and into the glaring sunlight, each heartbeat thudded with the weight of what lay ahead. There was no guarantee that this moment would be a savored memory to hold on to. But they both knew that they had to face it together. With Ryan leading the way, Ella's mind raced through all that had happened and what might come next. The reality of their mother's situation pressed against her chest like a stone. But in the midst of it all, the question loomed larger than life: would this journey lead them to healing, or would it unearth dark secrets from their shared past that could tear them apart once more? The hospital waiting room was sterile and bright, buzzing with scattered conversations, beeping machines, and a cascade of emotions that nearly overwhelmed Ella. As they entered, she felt the weight of the past hanging in the air. Everything had been leading to this moment, and yet here she was, fraught with uncertainty and fear. Marcus had offered to join them, but Ella had declined. This was something she had to manage with her sister. Side by side, they stepped toward the reception desk, where Ryan motioned for them to follow. Mom's in recovery right now, but the doctors want to discuss her treatment options, he explained. Ella felt her heart race. What did that mean? Would they actually have time to talk to her? Samantha held Ella's hand tightly, their fingers intertwining in an unspoken bond that felt both new and familiar. Are you okay? She whispered, and Ella sensed genuine concern in her sister's voice. I'm scared, Ella admitted, her confidence wavering. What if don't think like that? She needs us. We need to be there for her, Samantha interjected softly, squeezing Ella's hand tighter. With every ounce of her strength, Ella tried to push aside the worries curling in her chest. Moments later, they were ushered into a small room. The air smelled of antiseptic and hope. And there she was, Mom. Lying frail in the hospital bed, her face drawn but somehow familiar in the same breath. Samantha, her mother's voice was weak, but it held a haunting familiarity. Mom, they both choked out at once, the sound echoing with years of longing. Come here. Their mother motioned them closer, and as they stood by her bedside, Ella felt a rush of emotions breaking through her defenses: love, pain, heartache, and longing, gathered in one tumultuous wave. I'm so sorry, her mother's voice faltered, as raw and fragile as the heartbeat monitored nearby. I wish I had done better by you both. I never stopped loving you. Tears pooled in Ella's eyes, and in that moment, every argument, every hurtful word, evaporated into the air. We wanted you back. Even when it hurt, we missed you, Ella said, her voice trembling. It felt as though a dam had broken within her, allowing raw, truthful feelings to flow free. I promise we'll make this right. We'll talk. Just tell us what you need, Samantha added, her vulnerability reflecting Ella's own. With a deep breath, their mother's gaze searched theirs with a profound longing. Let us forgive each other, she whispered, before it's too late. In that small room, time stood still. The air thickened with shared resolve, and in the silence that followed, something began to mend in their hearts. Ella took a step closer, curling her fingers around her mother's hand. "We can do that. I want to. For you and for us. Do it for us too. Be a family again. It's beautiful when we are." Samantha's words dripped with warmth, and Ella didn't feel the need to hesitate anymore. This was their moment for healing, for starting to rewrite the narrative of their lives together. In those delicate few seconds, the world outside faded, leaving only the fragile bonds of family standing strong. The sisters exchanged a glance, one filled with a newfound understanding, a promise to each other. They could do this. Hours turned into conversations, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the room with a golden glow, Ella felt the tangle of their past begin to unravel. They were rebuilding the bridge, step by step, with laughter, tears, and shared stories that had once been lost. And by the beauty of softening scars, Ella also understood the truth Marcus had spoken. They didn't have to choose between their worlds, they could create their own together. As they sat laughing, reminiscing, and sharing, the tension that had once lodged in her chest dispersed like mist under the sun. Ella's heart felt lighter, filled with the warmth of forgiveness, friendship, and love. This is where it began, right here, in this room, their family reclaiming one another, one tear and one laugh at a time. The journey was just starting, but Ella felt bright. Hope radiating through every cell in her body, radiant, uplifting, and full of promise. "Together," she murmured, looking between her mother and sister. Together, they chorused, hands grasping tightly, weaving the threads of their lives into a robust tapestry once again. This moment and everything it meant marked a turning point. And Ella felt that with this strength and support, they could face whatever came next. As weeks turned into months, the raw edges of their story became woven with new memories. The healing journey wasn't always easy, but with Marcus now an unyielding anchor in Ella's life, and with their family united, they faced challenges as one. Now, she understood that true richness was in the bonds we forge and the love we choose to provide, even amidst tumult. And from the ashes of upheaval, they would rise together. But, my friends, let the story continue. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let's keep this community thriving together.